projectile vomit all over the window.
Because the wind going past the window created a vortex, and it was sucking it was sucking what you were trying to get out into the car. So why you put your mother in the back?
Well, there's always a race to the front seat, and with 4 boys in the family, I think Mum's
Do you mind?
too scrawny.
The rule was whoever the tallest person was,
They got whoever had the longest legs. Country footy, it was a little bit different to living in the city where we are now, but we were living in the country then on a farm, and everything was half an hour away, so everything was a bit of a trip, wasn't it? And more.
Yes.
For you did.
Yes.
I did probably more trips than you.
Yeah, no, I don't remember you at footy.
Oh, come on, I was one of the coaches. Of course, I was there.
No, you weren't. Your coach Jesse went for like a year or two.
No, look.
And he was the youngest.
No, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Listen, I was there because I worked weekends. So my thing with you guys, you
weren't there because you worked weekends.
No,
Yes.
I wasn't at the games.
Yeah.
For the local community footy. But I was there at training every night, taking an interest in what you guys do. You forget that because you're so mum absorbed that you've forgotten how important I was to the whole thing here.
It wasn't just you guys. There was also relying on that community of the football to allow you to jump in a car with someone else and carpool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember being in cars with lots of other
Speaking
kids.
of that community, the Riddles Creek Footy Club was important. Why do you reckon that was important, Harrison? Here's another lesson for you.
Well, it feels like you're teeing me up for an answer as
Well,
always.
that was the way. We'd come from another area. That was the way. Local grassroots footy clubs, soccer clubs, basketball clubs, whatever they are, the way to get immersed in the community was to go to one of these clubs, have your kids play, and you met the local plumber.
Yeah.
You met the carpenter. You met the builder.
You're building your network around town and building social.
You're going to need these people, and you need to rely on them mentally as well. Okay.
Definitely.
Tanya's sitting at home on a farm by herself for, 20 years, over 20 years. She's going to need friends, isn't she?
I remember very vividly that because I was there first, I would probably go with someone else, like Tom Keeney. I'd carpool with his mum. And you would never rock up because I'd see when your car rolled in, you wouldn't rock up until 3/4 time.
Yeah.
And then you'd go into the huddle and you'd say something like you'd been there the whole time.
Start offering advice. Coach Tanya.
Well, it meant that I could get dinner prepped if I didn't go to the game.
She'd actually say, she wouldn't say anything from her football tabloid. She'd say, remember what Dad would say, blah, blah, blah. What would you say
Me,
if you were there?
I'd say...
Go get the ball.
Just
Go
go get the
how hard
ball.
it is to just go get the ball.
But remember, you're not playing for sheep stations, so no point injuring yourself.
I think the classic thing I've ever heard Father say is the boundary's your friend.
The boundary line is your
line,
friend.
in the back line
Yeah.
only.
Yeah, and deep in the back line, the boundary line is your friend.
I was always car sick because I have to sit in the back because of what we spoke about.
Remember the
earlier
first
about-
time we went down the Great Ocean Road?
I'm telling
Yes.
the story.
Oh, go on, tell the story.
Went the back way.
What
yeah,
happened?
it wasn't the Great Ocean Road, it was the Dean's Marsh Road. But I was always sick and I was always in the back.
Right.
And in these cars, I think it might have been one of the Prados or Land Cruisers, there was the back.
Yes.
That's what we would call it. The
That's
seats
right.
in the very back. And at the back, the windows
They just
usually
hatched
don't
up.
open, but they had like a little hatch,
Yeah.
so you could get like an inch open. So I had that for a bit of fresh air, and all the boys and Mum were up the front seats. And I was that sick, and when you're coming in Dean's Marsh, there's no really where to pull over. And I told you several times that, Brian, I'm not feeling well. You know how I get in cars, and you're taking the corners like you're Mark Scape or something.
I said, we've only got a few Ks to go. And
Yeah,
I was
and
driving...
you kept saying that, and there was a few Ks that turned into another 10 Ks and another 10 Ks. And then, yeah, I couldn't hold it any longer. And I've gone to this inch gap and tried to vomit, and it's recoiled and projectile vomited all over the window.
Because the wind going past the window created a vortex, and it was sucking it was sucking what you were trying to get out into the car.
And you reckon you should have pulled over? You were pretty angry after that.
Oh, well, once you've vomited in a car, it's impossible to get the smell out.
We didn't get the smell out for a while.
So why is it that in the car, Harrison, this is the only time we ever get to talk to you? Why can't you have a conversation at home or even come home occasionally? And this is not just you, this is the other three as well. Why is it the only time we get to talk to you is in the car?
It's different now. I call Mum a fair bit, maybe once every couple of days, and I'm unfortunately on the phone to you every second minute. So there are lots of conversations, but yeah, being in the car, I think there's something about being safe. You sort of, sometimes if you're not listening to something or you don't have the radio on or you're not looking at your phone, it's sort of like you're forced to break that silence with a conversation. Like right now we're playing footy in the country still, and we have a 3-hour drive. So me and my younger brother Jesse and a couple of mates, we jump in a car and we hardly touch our phones. We're talking the whole time and catching up. How was your week? How was your day? And you really don't get that that much anymore unless you're out for dinner or in places like being in the car. But yeah, the long haul travels definitely open up the conversation to some pretty depth stuff.
Imagine what you guys talk about.
We talk about everything.
When we were living on the farm, Tan, how many trips a week were taken up with school run, local football, local
Every night of the week.
basketball?
Every night of the week, because all the kids did something. If they didn't swim, they were doing basketball.
Swimming in the mornings was the worst.
And swimming at night. You swam twice a week at night as well.
Oh yeah. Now, what do you think is the biggest lesson, Harrison, that you've learnt, perhaps you and your brothers have learnt from us as parents?
Number one, respecting everyone, and making your judgments based not on initial sort of first impressions, but getting to know people, and the ability to connect with anyone. Doesn't matter if it's, the guy in the suit or the guy at the pub with the beer in his hand. Like, it's about trying to find a way to connect with everyone rather than just your own group and default into that all the time.
I thought the thing you would have remembered most from me, definitely not from your mother, was punctuality, how important it was to turn up on time. Because we were everywhere. When I drove, we were on time. We were early when old girl in the back seat there drove.
Hold on. Who do you look after? Who's your number one priority in life?
Well, everybody else except me.
Oh, that's the difference.
Yep, Mum had to wrangle all of us.
Yep, you just turn up and I have them all ready.
I learned that you're all completely different. You have to definitely have to treat each one of you differently and have different discussions with you, because what you say to one, you cannot say to the other. You're disciplining them, or even just having a normal chat about a sensitive matter.
What do you mean? What do you say to me?
Yeah, what sensitive matters have these guys had that I don't know about? You hiding some money?
Are you censoring yourself to me?
No, I'm just saying, as teenagers and whatever, learning to, navigate the landscape.
And I tell you what, you guys haven't learned, which we have tried to teach you many times before, is to have fun. You're still battling with that, aren't you?
What do you mean have fun?
You guys are just a bit boring.
You don't understand that fun for me is living.
Fun for you is like going in the shed and being in...
Yeah. Fun for me...
in your own space. This is exactly why we need to get in the car and have conversations, because you go out in your shed and
everyone's
choose
different.
not to speak.
Everyone's different. See, I'm having fun now driving around talking to you and your mother. But just because I'm not smiling, it doesn't mean I'm not having fun. Some people are outwardly, you can tell they're having fun, and some are inwardly.
You're an inner fun guy.
I'm an inner fun guy. So,
The jury's out. The jury's out.
He's a worrywart, though. He worries about the things that, you're going to have a gathering, and then he gives you the list of things that you can't do.
Okay, what do you worry about this weekend?
I tell you what I am. I'm an observer. I sit there and I watch people and I think and I'm enjoying the company of those people, even though they aren't in my company. Just by watching them. I'm a watcher.
Yeah, see, this isn't fun.
What?
What you're talking about doesn't actually sound like fun.
No, it's fun to me. You don't understand. My whole life is pressure and worry. And that's because of you guys. A lot of that's because of you guys.
What are you worried about,
You don't
Dale?
even understand.
Well, if he's worried, I'm worried. It's a domino effect.
Dale, you haven't worked.
Because
when was
it
the last?
It doesn't matter.
You guys live in a
I
perpetual
never wanted
state
to
of
stop
worry.
working, but you said no. It's time for you to hang up the boots.
You haven't worked for 40 years.
No, it's 20 years now.
Jesus, there were a lot of people that helped out at local footy. What did you do canteen or anything like that, Dale?
Yes, I did.
I think everyone had to do their own.
So it was like a roster, was
Yeah,
it?
it was a roster, yes.
And so everyone in the community did something on Footy Club's Day. I mean, very few people went and actually just watched. everyone had a job.
No, you had to. Every parent had to volunteer to do one thing, and it was
Throughout
like
the
once
year.
a month.
Yeah.
once
But
a
there were
month,
many
whatever.
jobs. Like,
Yes.
you know, I remember Peter Darby wanting to be the goal umpire all the time. I don't know whether he wanted to cheat or what was going on, but
All those clubs absolutely get by based on the sacrifice
Voluntary.
of the volunteers.
yeah,
They'd be nowhere without those.
just shows you junior basketball, junior footy, whether it be country, metropolitan, is totally run. You don't even realise it at the time, on the parents of all of the kids.
And it's from the top down as well. You look at the president, the treasurer of junior and senior football clubs and netball clubs. They're not getting paid. That's not
No.
a paid role.
And
the
I can
committee.
I can tell you now, having been to many of those sort of committee meetings, to get a committee together, to get people to volunteer to be the treasurer and the president, is near on impossible. People don't want to do those positions, but they know that they have to, and that's why they take them on. By the way, how's that function going up at for Charlton Footy Club? We're going up to do a function in a couple of weeks.
Well, Jesse and I are playing up at Charlton, which is about halfway to Mildura, so 3 hours out of Melbourne. And I remember we dragged you guys into coming up, you and Mum.
Yes.
And the dog Hansel.
It was great.
What did you
fun.
think of the place?
I tell you what, I loved it. Charlton, there'd be a couple of hundred people living in
Yeah,
Charlton,
big-
farmers around.
Big broadacre farming community, you know.
One or two pubs. It just had a great vibe, didn't it,
Yeah, I
Tam?
loved it. It
Everyone.
Really had a really beautiful community, family orientated. All the kids, like after the game, are all in the club rooms, and everyone knows everyone's kids, so everyone's sort of like
Everyone's looking
Yeah,
after each other. Yeah.
the kids gravitate to Harrison because he's great with the little ones. They want to get in his car and can you drive me home? And it's a lovely, really lovely community.
I think the thing about that is the communities, even because that's a long way away, 3 hours away, and it's a tiny little town, they are totally dependent on each other, totally reliant on each other in the community to run footy clubs. To me, it's a much more intense setup. Don't you reckon? It's like roughly 300 people live there. I would have thought that was what amazed me. After the club rooms, when everyone has dinner and a bit of a roast and the locals cook it, of the 300 people, there would have been 250 people
Where
there.
are all these people coming from, you're thinking?
It is unbelievable. The whole community,
Saturdays,
because they played hockey, they played football, they played netball. Everyone in the community, and I mean everybody, was actually there.
Yeah. But back to your original question, you're coming up to Charlton to do a bit of a sports person's night.
Yeah.
You, Sam Kikovich, and Tommy Sheridan.
Yep.
How do you think that's going to go? Do you think it's going to be the biggest event in town for years, having Brian Taylor
Well,
there?
I don't know whether that is the case or not, but I hope that they raise enough money to be able to exist. Like, they're probably going to raise out of a night like that. A local club will put a lot of effort in. There have been people working tirelessly on making that happen at the moment. Selling tickets, organising
Getting raffles,
audio, raffles, the whole thing.
auction
Now, if
items.
they make $20,000 to $30,000 on that function, then they've done really well. And that's probably, I don't know what their budget is, but probably a local footy club like that, their budget's probably about $100,000 a year. It's a lot of money you got to find. I mean, that $100,000 doesn't grow on trees.
The Toyota Good for Footy raffle has been helping clubs like that do it for years, and selling tickets at the club, and then you go in the draw to win. I'm not sure what you win, but it might change every year. But I think it's a cash pool.
That Toyota Good for Footy raffle has been going now for years, and some clubs I know of totally survive on that, on selling those raffle tickets. That is a major fundraising and a major reason why they exist.
Which is great initiative.
So it has been a fantastic, long-serving initiative. So that should be a great event.
Jesse and I will jump in the car this afternoon after work, and we'll spend 3 hours in the car. And Jesse, as we know, he's not the easiest to get a word out of, but as you slowly progress, after an hour, he might say a little bit more. I'll say, "How was your day?" And yeah, it's good. And how's Brooke? Yeah, she's good. How's work? Yeah, it's good.
So this is all part of Conversation in Cars, Harrison.
Yes, brought to you by Toyota.
Yeah, Conversation in Cars, brought to you by Toyota. Thanks to our great mates at Toyota for supporting grassroots footy. They do an incredible job, and on behalf of all the clubs and communities out there, like the ones we've just spoken about, we say thanks and salute Toyota for the great initiative that they've put forward and clubs have thrived on.
Can we get these seated heats in the house? The couch?
They wouldn't be seated heats.
Oh,
They
yeah.
would be heated seats.
Heated seats, right.
All right, guys. Well, that just about brings our drive to an end. So, thank
Yep.
you for
Stop here for coffee.
come along. And there's old Nick. We're going to stop here for coffee. But thank you for. It was nice to speak to you for the first time in 12 months. There we go.
Thank you.
The drive is over.